The more I watch of Moriarty the Patriot, the more I want to see William James Moriarty's vision of justice come through. And what's interesting is, if I'm not mistaken, the preview of this week's episode, for episode 6, I think we see Sherlock in the preview. I could be mistaken, but I think that was Sherlock. And if that is the case, it's a pretty solid point to introduce him, because at this point I think most viewers watching agree with William's sense of justice. All the people who have kind of been killed up until this point have used their class system in order to step on other people. In this episode, just because someone was noble and he got someone who was common, no real status or power, pregnant, ended up dead. And it's such a horrifying system. It's something that's disgusting. And when you see someone get drugged up and basically kill himself in the same way that he caused a young pregnant girl to kill her, if you're shedding a tear to that, I do wonder why. There is always the question and the idea of, like, you should never get your hands dirty because if you're doing it, you're no better than them. But I'm a firm believer that that's a pretty ignorant mindset, because when you think about it, these types of people, they're not going to change. If we're giving passes to people for brutally killing and manipulating situations for their own benefit, like getting a pregnant girl to kill herself or stabbing maids in the hand and things like that. These are the type of people who you don't want to see live these luxurious lifestyles. And it's very interesting to have a group of people who are criminals by all sense of the definition use their ability, and the gang's officially all here. Fred's here, everyone's here. We have the entire group assembled, and to now have such a powerful criminal consultant force introducing Sherlock into the mix, who will give him a run for his money, and hopefully give him a run for his money, not in supernatural ways like in BBC Sherlock, where he just magically says things that the viewer is like, you have no reason to know these things. How do you look behind the fridge at this angle and see a banana there that indicates the wife cheated? That's pretty much how that show operates. So I'm hoping what this show will do is Sherlock will actually be able to follow the breadcrumbs rather than magically solve things, because even though episode 1 was kind of a mystery and kind of had that Sherlock Holmes mystery angle, it honestly seems like Moriarty the Patriot isn't really about a mystery, but rather the thriller and the justice sense and what is justice. Because up until now, we've pretty much all had just like, it's not really a mystery of who done it anymore. It's more of, this is the crime and this is how we're going to solve the crime. And it's very nice to have that formula because it gives it a refreshing taste, because honestly, outside of the Sherlock Holmes novels, and I haven't read all of them, don't get me wrong, I've read a few, and the ones I've read I thought were amazing literature. Outside of that, media-wise, I've just really never enjoyed it. There's been some good games, don't get me wrong, I've actually think there's been some solid video games that have used the Sherlock Holmes banner, but this is honestly the first media project that I've sat back and watched and haven't really felt like it was a disgrace to the Sherlock Holmes name. It's something that just screams quality and substance, and it's not afraid to make your mind question your own morals and say, if this was happening in our own world and we had an option to press a button to stop it from happening, would we press that button? And up until now, I wouldn't have said no. It's really nice to have a show that makes you feel dirty watching, but at the same time, you kind of get those William smiles where you're just like, this is what needs to happen. And it's a show that's going to make you have conversations and question what is good and what is wrong. That is supposed to happen. But it's very nice to have the focus on William, especially before William probably becomes to his absolute worst. Because obviously this type of thinking is going to corrupt him. He's going to do more and more wrong things. But to ease the viewer into his thought process, it really puts you on the antagonist sides. And a lot of times when you watch a show, you can look at it from their point of view and say, I wonder, if we followed the antagonist, would we have thought the protagonist was in the wrong? Because it's very easy to think characters are doing right when you're only focusing on them from the very beginning. It's pretty much like being raised by bad parents. If you're raised by bad parents, you're not going to really know what good parents are. So I think that's kind of what they're building us up to, because we're starting off on these righteous kills, which sound kind of weird to say. But eventually he'll get into those moments, which I don't think will happen in the first core. I think that's going to be the second core, like I've said in previous reviews, because that would be the smart move. Introduce Sherlock probably next week or the week after, have him go up against him, really push back against Sherlock, but then by the time we get into episodes 13 through 24, that's when we start questioning, is Sherlock actually doing the right thing trying to hunt him? And is William actually doing the wrong thing now? Is he just killing people just because he can rather than delivering justice? Because up until now, it's not like he just kills random people. The people that he either tells, like a father what happened to his son, here's your son's killer, let him get the justice. In this case, a grieving man who just wanted his fiancée and child to be loved and have a great life. He uses his allies to snipe him around as he's been drugged up in a similar way to jump off the bridge and end his life. It was really nice to see some of the interesting moments, because I actually thought what they were going to do was this girl was actually going to be alive and well, because when she was walking towards us, I was like, well, you know, we did see at the beginning of the episode there was a homeless man. Maybe she actually did survive. Maybe he didn't tell anyone, because obviously if she was probably attempted to be killed, didn't want to hurt her. But the idea of Fred actually being the one dressing up, I thought was a nice twist, and it does make sense. It was foggy. Obviously, for the viewers watching, they made it completely look like her, but from the character's perspectives, it was foggy. He had a petite body, things like that, dressed in the same apparel. It made sense completely, and I really liked that about this episode, and how it felt like it was a slower burn episode, but it also felt like we were kind of rushing towards an objective all at the same time, and it gave it this very interesting feel. Having William just so casually get the information out of, you know, a grieving person who's just working her job, doing her duty, and to just see everything come down and just know that, like, something needs to be done. Someone's behind it. And you knew it was the other professor. Like, as soon as I saw him talk with William and say, oh, you know, don't worry, I'll talk with the cops, you knew he was behind it. I don't think anyone's going to be really shocked by that, but it was nice how they slowly revealed it in the episode. And just to see the justice be delivered, and just, I think what ties it together for me is the very end of the episode, where they didn't really have the money to give her a proper burial. That's why the woman didn't accept the money that William was going to pay her. She said buy her some flowers because it's the least she deserves. You see the man buy her the most extravagant tombstone, something that overshadows everyone in that graveyard. A common girl, someone who doesn't have status, who doesn't have wealth. Her fiancé was able to deliver that, and it really does show you the difference of status and power in this world, and how most people don't use it to their advantage. And the people who seemingly are using it for the right reasons are the one who gets hurt the most, as the evil people just continue to live and laugh and prey on the weak. And it's really nice to have a group of characters who have that status and actually are trying to change the system, even if they're doing it brutal. The most drastic changes across human history have been done through drastic and brutal means. Let's not kid ourselves. All of the crazy social and inequality status that have been changed have been done in pretty violent ways. And it's something that you just wish you didn't have to do, but it kind of, like, how else is going to happen? Especially when you're put in a time period that's not even as close to being modern. Like, it's horrifying, this Victorian era. And that's what makes it so interesting, is it's not trying to say, we're doing the right thing. It's trying to make you say, this is technically the wrong thing, but can you really disagree with what's happening even if your morals are trying to say otherwise? That's what's so great about this show, and it's definitely one of my personal favorites of this season. It's in my top 5 without a doubt. It's one of the most exciting, it's one of the most thought-provoking, and without a doubt it's my favorite, in terms of media, outside of literature, my favorite Sherlock Holmes story already, even with only 5 episodes. It does help that most are kind of just like pulling things from their ass and solving crimes randomly, or just really doing a disgrace to the name. But honestly, Moriarty the Patriot felt like it had something to prove, and every week it continues to do so. Let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. What did you think of this episode and the justice that was served, or are you feeling like maybe the justice just isn't for you? Whatever you're feeling, of course, let me know. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like to show your support and hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.